we're going to really take care of your kid. And we do. That's the thing. Like, I never go into work worrying, like, are we not paying attention to that kid? Who is that student? It just doesn't happen.
In this video, you'll meet Ryan Seeley, who's the Vice Principal of Metropolitan Preparatory Academy in Toronto, Ontario. And in this video, you'll hear him speak about the school's emphasis on communication. You'll also hear about the attention they give to individual children as they prepare for whatever comes after high school. And you'll also hear about how they involve families in school life or let them lead their own lives as their kids are taken care of within the school. So why don't you start by telling us 3 things that you love about your job?
I think, well, there's a lot more than 3, but we'll go with 3. So one thing I really love about my job is the people I work with, the faculty, the staff. They're very supportive. A lot of individuals, very creative thinkers, hardworking and really dedicated. Always has been. I like the loyalty that we have at our school. I've been there for 20 years and I've worked with a lot of the same people. Of course, we have new teachers as well, but I like that sense of it's like a second home to me. So I feel very comfortable in my role there since I started in 2001. So it's been 20 years. So I like that. And of course, the thing probably I love the most is the students. Working with the students in the way that we work at Metro Prep allows me to learn more about humanity and the psychology of people and how everyone deals with things differently. And so the relationship we get to build with the families and the students has been very special. And we love to keep in touch with our students. So I have this whole extended family from Metro Prep that I never thought when I started teaching that would be a spin-off, but I really value that. So every year it's different, but the students make it, and I feed off of that energy and their desires and their dreams. So those would be the 3 things I think that come to mind.
So 20 years at the school is a long time. Can you tell us about your journey at the school from a teacher to now vice principal?
Yeah, sure. So I was studying acting, and I was an actor and a director in my mid-20s, and I moved all over the place. I was in England, and then I was in California, and then I came back home to Toronto, and I was at U of T, and I was thinking of once I finished my master's, I had applied for the PhD program. And I was sitting on a bus and really wondering if I wanted to do another 6 years of academia. And I saw an ad in the Globe and Mail for a drama teacher at a school I'd never heard of. And I applied. And I got a phone call from the person who was doing the interviews, and went into the school. And it was one of the strangest and most creative interviews I'd ever had for a job. And I said, what is this place? This is amazing. And so I kind of fell in love with the school before they even offered me the job. And then I met Wayne, the principal, and the questions he asked me were more about, my family and where I was from and my political leanings, where I fit on the spectrum. And of course I was honest and straightforward. And I think that's what he liked about it. So we had a really good conversation. And they had chosen another candidate to teach drama, and so I thought, I guess it's the PhD route. And so I was just about to sort of make these decisions, and I was going to have to take a year. And long story short, all of a sudden I get a phone call 3 weeks into the semester. It was right after 9/11, and so the world was very, very strange at that time. And something had happened with the person they had hired, and they could no longer keep the position. And they said, would you like to start? So 3 weeks into the year, I started on a Monday. And I think the students, I remember them thinking I was a supply teacher. And I said, no, I'm your teacher. Your old teacher is no longer working here. And it was strange for them, but the kids were so amazing. And I just loved it. And after the first 6 months or a year of working there, I just felt very comfortable, and it was a whole other thing. And I found that I was doing more acting and learning more about theater and music, my passions, than I was when I was actually acting and directing and working. No offense to my professional friends, but I feel like getting to be in a space with young people who crave that kind of attention, and getting to show them what I had learned and pass that on to them, it really started working. And so Metro didn't have a really large drama program. They had drama classes, but they weren't really doing a lot of big productions as far as I can remember. And so I had a student named Jonathan Hirsch, and he was very into technical theater. And he came and he asked me, can we please do a play? He was only in grade 9. I said, well, I guess. And so we started working together, and we built a studio theater together in my little black box. So it was just a, small room, and we painted it black, and we happened to have the rafters, the steel rafters, so we could hang lighting. And Wayne was super supportive. He said, sure, what do you need? So we got the lighting, we got a dimmer. I won't go into all the details, but we built a theater by hand. We didn't hire anyone. We painted the walls with spray guns, and we built a booth, and we put in all the sound. And then over the years, it got better and better. And then we started choosing plays to perform, and we would audition students. And the plays I was tending to choose were plays that I was taught in university, or I had performed. And they were a little heavy, I think, in the beginning for the average high school show. And I think that's what worked. I think the kids thought I was taking it almost too seriously. And I think some of the faculty thought I was a little bit nuts to be on a ladder at midnight, still working with the lights with Jonathan. But I learned so much. And I think I did what I loved, and it seemed to respond with the kids. And that, of course, then led to more and more plays and bigger and bigger productions. And now, I think we've got 20 years to look back on it. It blows my mind, all of the different students that have been in our shows, and either as actors or as tech people. And Jonathan and I are still very close. He's in his 30s now. And it's one of those things when I look back on that I'm very, very grateful for.
So when you think about a prep school that is meant to prepare its students for university, for that kind of academic passion life of learning, you obviously come from a really strong artistic background and have really worked to incorporate that into the school's offering for its students. How else does Metro Prep balance different areas in this environment that is obviously, in the name, meant to prepare students academically? Or maybe that's the impression that you might have of the school.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think that's sort of going back to the first question. I think the school was very academic, and they had a lot of athletics when I first started there. And so bringing the arts in, I think, started to create a bit more of a balance, or just developing it. It wasn't that they didn't have arts. So I think now we're still a very academic school, and we have a lot of, all of the sciences and maths and STEM, computer science. So what I think is nice about it is that because we take the arts so seriously there, it blends very well, or matches up with how seriously the teachers take biology and chemistry and physics and all of that. And the teachers who have been teaching those subjects, most of them have been there, some of them longer than I have. So there's this kind of, the students expect that when they go into any course, that the teachers are passionate about what they teach, know what they're doing, and want to explore and get even, better at what they're doing. We like to say that we teach students, not courses, at the school. So every year, even going through the curriculum, you still have a whole different class every single time. It's a different experience. So there's really no lack of balance. I wouldn't say the school is too heavy on just academics and getting kids into university. That happens naturally because we're so focused on the student. And I think if you focus on the student and you get to know them, really know them and listen to them, not just what their parents tell you they want them to do, but what the student really is interested in, then they work harder. They try to, set the goals, achieve the goals. And then we're sort of sitting there going, well, yeah, they all got into all the programs they applied to. And I think we have a really great track record for that. So we haven't changed that. We have a lot of interpersonal connection between guidance and the kids. And so the students get a lot of attention in if they change their mind, but just in general, being prepared for all of the supplementary things that students need when they apply for university, the application packages, the portfolios, the letters, all of that. It's pretty daunting now for students, right? So that's something I think we do very well because we're smaller. There's that personal detail and attention to detail, and every student kind of gets wrapped up in Metro, and the whole thing is about, how can we make every single day good? And then when you're graduating, you look back and go, I can't believe it's over. And most of the kids don't want to leave, but they're so excited to go. That's probably one of the hardest things of the job is saying goodbye. When you spend, like, our students come in grade 7, so you're with them for 6 years. That's a long time, and then all of a sudden, see ya. That's tough, but I'm glad that we prepare them for that, and that they don't call me and say, well, I didn't learn enough, and now I flunked out of my program. That's the worst thing. So I'm glad we don't get those phone calls.
And I was going to ask, so the years are grade 7 to grade 12. Do students typically do those full 6 years at the school, or are there certain years that different students attend, maybe the last 2 years, just to get that final prep before they go off to university? Or, is it that full experience?
Well, we do have like an open admission policy. So we do have students that just come for grade 11 and 12. I think when a student starts at Metro in grade 7, I don't know what the statistic would be, but I would say 98% of them graduate in grade 12. If I had to guess, there's very few times where students leave. I think when they come in grade 7, they do get that full experience and they really build those bonds. But even students who start in grade 11 or 12, when parents are looking at their marks and let's say they're not doing as well, and they think, well, you need a school that's going to, stay on you and motivate you to do better. And we'll get those students, and they kind of hit the ground running, and the environment is so inclusive and fun that they have no choice but to just, try out for the team or join the play or the debate team, go on the trips, whatever it is. And even in 2 years, they feel like a Metro Prep kid. But it's not sort of like if you don't apply in grade 9, it doesn't mean you can't apply in grade 11. And we have had students who change their mind. They think they want to come in grade 9, and for whatever reason they can't, and then they show up in grade 10, and it always seems to work. And if it doesn't work, we're honest about it. And sometimes students, they do find it maybe too challenging, or whatever happens in their family, and sometimes they move. And so we have to deal with that on occasion, but for the most part, I think it doesn't matter when you start at Metro, you're going to get a Metro Prep experience.
And is there a kind of student that wouldn't be the right fit for Metro Prep?
Yeah, I think there are, because over the years, I don't know how many, it's over 2,000 students I think I've taught now. And there have been some that stick out as just not being the right fit, or us not suiting them, and they either leave. The type of student that might not enjoy Metro would be, I think, a student that is looking for lack of a better word, a typical television high school experience where you have, 1,000 kids, huge hallways, huge rooms, and the football games with the, and the cheerleaders and everyone's, that kind of thing, which which, I had a similar high school experience. My high school was, 1,500 students that I went to, and I can remember it and I loved it. But if that's what you're looking for, then I would say that Metro's not your school, because we're more of a small, very close knit school. And even the classrooms are more personalized. The curriculum is more personalized. And so students that want that, my graduating class has 200 kids in it, and they don't know one another. And there's this group and there's this group and little cliques. And, some kids want that. They want the Degrassi feel. And we're pretty straight up about, nope, that's not what we do. That would be one type of student. The other one would be someone looking for a really traditional, old school model, with they want the uniforms and the 100-year history and all of the stuff that comes with that. And some of that's very positive, there's nothing wrong with some of those schools. But that's not what we're about. We're more about, trying to stay modern and progressive and not always harking back to the olden days of this is how it used to be. And, we do have our traditions, but so a family, I think families, if you're looking at Upper Canada College, for example, which is a great school, but it's an all boys school, right? So right then, my mind goes, well, our students kind of like the co-ed because that's how the world is. You're working with everyone and all types of people. So if they want that kind of more traditional, old school model, then if that's what they've been in for 8 years, we don't have the blazers and the gray pants. And I think kids who are looking for something different, they find it at Metro. So those would be the two types of students: the one that wants the big school experience, and then someone that wants a more traditional approach.
And what are the values of Metro Prep?
I think first is compassion. The teachers are really compassionate people, and we really like to empathize with what teenagers are going through and their families are going through. So we really like to listen. And I think one of the things is communication. So we love to talk to the kids. We spend an inordinate amount of time, especially Wayne. It all comes from his vision of sitting down. And when you get called to the principal's office at Metro, it's not because you're in trouble. It's because Wayne wants to speak to you about your life. And it could be what you did on the weekend, or where you want to go 10 years from now, or a trip you want to take, or your favorite maple leaf. Like Wayne, and it sort of passes on to all of us. You got to talk to the kids. So communication is a core value. Honesty, and I don't mean, catching kids in lies. I mean being honest with families about where their students at and whether or not this particular road is going to suit them. Because sometimes parents will assume their child's maybe better in a particular course or stream than they are. And it's up to us to say, actually, your son is all he talks about is being a carpenter or wanting to be a chef. And I think in preparatory academies, we want to prepare you for the future. It doesn't mean we're going to prepare you to be a doctor, or a lawyer, which a lot of people, and I guess this would be good for the families that don't have a lot of knowledge about private schools. They assume that, private schools are all about getting your kid into the best MBA business program. A lot of private schools are doing better at getting to know what the student needs and wants. So you have to have that honesty with the family and say, you know what, this isn't the plan they really dream about, and then, I think also independent thinking. We have a lot of debates at our school, and it's a lot of, it's part of the atmosphere there is this kind of trading of opinions, and in a healthy way, And Wayne sort of, he'll hire people, and he likes to work with people that are different from him. And that, I think, it really wears well over time. Since 1982, that's a long time for a school to be around. for our size, right? And I think the kids really benefit from that, because they'll go from one class to another and they'll hear one thing in one classroom and they'll hear another opinion from another teacher, and they'll be, wait a second, so and so was just saying this. Well, welcome to Metro. That's the world, you know. So I think independent thinking is a value as well that we would strive for anyway.
And just to expand on that last note a little bit, can you
Mhm.
describe what school life is like in the atmosphere there that you try to create with your students and for your students?
Well, a lot of our students tell us that it becomes their second home. And so the classrooms and the hallways are adorned with um, kind of a warm, cozy vibe. And we like to show our students' achievements, obviously. So it has a very, uh, it's like going to, like, I don't know, it's not like a cottage because we're not on a lake, but you know, when you have another place to go other than just your house, right? Maybe it's your grandparents' house, maybe it's a cottage, maybe it's your sailboat, whatever, but you've got that other place and it just feels like, oh, I'm here, you know. I think that's what we try to do at Metro, is that whatever's going on in the home, you know, they leave it behind as much as they can when they walk through those doors. It's very collegial, and the faculty, we don't allow infighting and that kind of thing that can happen in sometimes a small school between staff. And so the students, they're not in an environment where they feel like there's this group of teachers that don't like this group of teachers, and that does happen in some schools. Um, so it's a very friendly environment and caring. I think maybe almost to the point where you can't walk from one end of the school to the other without constantly people saying hello. Like literally, when I leave my drama studio and go to see Wayne in his office, I'll say hello, or students will say hello to me 10, 15 times every time. So you end up saying hello to the same person quite a lot, because we're always buzzing around. That's the other thing. Our school it's very open in the sense that if a student gets called to the office, or I have to page someone down, or I need a student to help out with something, we're very open with that. We'll just say, hey, as long as they're not writing a test, can I borrow these 3 students to come and help with this? And they love that. It's not rigid in that sense, where you will see kids in the hall. There's no hall monitors. We don't have hall passes. It's not, you know what I mean? Where why aren't you in class? What are you doing? It's the opposite of that. Not that kids are just hanging out in the hall, and if they are, then we get them into classes. But that would be the vibe. It's kind of it's ideal, really. I think when someone starts to work at Metro, the thing I hear is how nice everyone is and how great a place it is to work. And being in my position, I do deal with, you know, the odd issue, and it's compared to some of my other friends who work in different areas or in different schools, we just don't seem to have those problems. And I really think that's creates stability for the kids, and they expect their teachers to be that person. And as much as we can, we do that.
On that note, how do you address incidents that happen between students or between students and teachers, or if there is something, an issue that needs to be addressed, what's your approach?
Well, the first thing is, and I've learned this over the years, is that Wayne tends to want to deal with everything on a case by case basis. So when a student joins Metro, we have a code of conduct. They read that and they sign it. But even in any code of conduct, there can be situations that occur where both students have, you know, a differing opinion on what happened. We don't have a lot of, you know, issues because of our enrollment in a small school. There's just less things to deal with. But let's say there is a tussle in the gym between, you know, two students. If it's serious, we do all of the best practices. We have, you know, we have safety security cameras. We'll look at the camera. We'll look at what happened. We'll interview students and ask in a safe way with another teacher present at what did you see? What did you hear? And we like to get to the bottom of it. One time we had a theft that I know about just recently. We had a theft of a cell phone, which happens, in all schools. All of a sudden, the phone magically appeared in the bathroom after the student, knew that we were looking into it. When we found out about that, a lot of schools would have just written that kid off, expulsion. But again, Wayne likes to talk to the kid, figure out why would they do that, right? And so it's a learning lesson, and that's more important than the phone. We'd rather just replace the phone, give that to the student. But why did that happen in our school environment? Why did they think that was okay? What's going on in their life that they thought that was necessary? So it's a lot of talking, it's a lot of listening. And there are days where I wish it was maybe easier just to say, no, you broke the rule, you're gone, see you on Friday. Occasionally that's happened. In 20 years, that's bound to happen, right? If it's a problem between staff, or two teachers are having an issue over something, again, it's the same thing. Let's sit down, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. But again, it's not something where I'd be able to tell you very many stories about that. It's a very professional atmosphere, and I think people show up to teach and they enjoy it. And because they enjoy it, we don't have a lot of those issues. If someone's, for example, let's say a teacher can't come in, we cover their classes, right? So we all have each other's back. And that makes you feel like if you're not feeling well, or there's a family issue going on, or what have you, that you can say, I just can't come in today. I'm not going to be at my best. And so we just pick up and cover those classes. And because the kids know us, it's not the end of the world that their teacher's not there that day, because they almost look forward to it. Like, oh, now we get to have, Joanna teaching drama today because Ryan's not here. Even though Joanna doesn't like to teach drama. I think, if you have supply teachers or people coming in and the kids don't know them, a lot of the parents would think, well, that's a waste of a day. You can't really have any marking. So we avoid that by doing that. And so it's all in-house, and occasionally when something goes wrong, you have to call the authorities. Like I've had to deal with the odd police officer coming in, and it's very stressful. And of course, all the students are like, what's going on? Because it's very rare, it's probably not even once a year. But there's certain things you just have to deal with, when you're dealing with teenagers. There's a lot going on, and sometimes it's more serious, and those days are difficult.
And from the family's side of things, in those that are drawn to Metro Prep, do you find that there is a similar reason for it, or a commonality that different families ultimately share, and that is exemplified through their interest in the school?
Yeah. One of the things I think would be common would be a lot of families like the reputation that we have of really caring for each student and not just a grade or a particular type of student. So some of our students might have the odd learning issue, right? Maybe they're dyslexic, they have attention deficit, and they're looking for a school that actually does what they say they're going to do, which is, we are going to look at the IEP for this student. Oh, they're gifted in this area. Okay, well, we have a robotics club, following through that they get to join that club, that their interests in whatever they're gifted in, or what they're lacking in, that they're supported. And so a lot of our families come to us because their students aren't getting that attention where they are. Bullying. Some of our students have come to our school because they've been bullied at other schools, and we have a reputation for just no tolerance. And again, how do we deal with that? Is by talking and creating a culture where the students would just tell any teacher, this is what's going on. That's not okay. So families feel very safe. We're there a lot. Like, the school's open longer than maybe some public schools anyway. Wayne is always available to talk with the parents, and so am I, and Sue and Deb. So they like that we listen and we don't rush them out the door. So I think families like that kind of tailored approach to their child. And that's what we sell them on, for lack of a better word. If what's your sales pitch? Well, we're going to really take care of your kid. And we do. That's the thing. Like, I never go into work worrying, like, are we not paying attention to that kid? Who is that student? It just doesn't happen. And so I think they bond over that. And also the kids, the friends that they make, their social circles are very positive. They really, really tell us that, like, oh, ever since my daughter came here, her friends are so great, and it's not, they don't have 35 friends. It might only be 3 or 4 but that group, they're friends forever. So I think parents take a lot of stock in that, because anyone who's got a teenager knows that friendships matter and influences matter. And so maybe that's something that just sort of dawned on me, that get a lot of letters about how, the culture there was very inclusive, and their kid felt like they had a really good group around them that supported them.
And is there an expectation of family involvement in school life, or participation in school activities?
It's certainly not something that we would make a family feel bad for if they're not attending our events. The truth is, Carly, that many of our families, the parents are both working, they're very busy, traveling, owning their own businesses, what have you. And I think, no offense to our parents, but I think some of them just really like the idea that they know their kid is with us for a long period of the day, and they're being watched, they're being helped, and they're being taught, and they're feeling good. And so I know some schools have a lot of parent involvement. In my experience, the students don't like that. The students like exploring all of that with their teachers and then telling their parents about it when they get home. But when mom shows up or dad shows up or the grandparents show up, sometimes that can be awkward for a teenager, because their identity at school is different from their identity at home. And all of a sudden it's, oh, now my mom's at the carnival. But of course our families love, like, our graduations are very special. And our, all the productions, the concerts we do, we often get parents involved to help out in that regard. And they're super supportive. It's just, it can cause problems that we just don't want to have to deal with. And so if we thought we were lacking in planning or being organized and we just needed more hands on deck, we'd happily ask. But I think that's what a private school should be able to do, is be organized and plan, so that the parents feel like, wow, this was worth all the time and energy and, of course, money that we've put into our child's education. Families are encouraged to be honest in communicating with the parents. So we're always emailing. In fact, when parents prefer email these days, to be honest, than a phone call, because they can attend to it when they want. But when I first started at Metro, we had a call log, and every single teacher had to call every single parent twice before midterm. And you had to write, when you spoke to that parent, what was it about? And then we would hand those logs in to the administration so they could see that the parents were getting contacted. And that kind of really surprised me. I never thought that would be going on. So it would be 7 o'clock, you're on the phone with a parent, and that's how you get to know them, right? And they can ask you those personal questions. So more and more we're doing that via email, but we're still an EDSB, which is our platform. It's so easy now to contact both parents, right? And the student at the same time. So-and-so didn't do so well on a test. Let's figure out why. Is there anything you can tell me? Were they not prepared? Or your child just aced this monologue, best monologue I've seen all year, need them to audition for the play. And the dad's like, what? I didn't know my son could act. This is fantastic. That happens. And so that's how we kind of keep them in the loop.
If Metro Prep was a person, what personality traits would it have?
That's a good one. I think they'd be very, very bold, fun-loving, a sense of adventure. Um, they'd love to travel. I think a lot of our students, those people that you think they'd be a great leader, but they've never necessarily been in a position of leadership. I feel like that is one of the things that our school tends to produce, is that the personality of kids leaving our school going, I can do this. I could be that person. I could be the teacher that I love that much. I could be, in charge of something. So people that are, I think, a personality, a sense of adventure, a sense of confidence, bold thinking, progressive thinking, speaking your mind, while also being really sensitive to other people's feelings, because we're so much about that. We're always thinking about, well, how's that going to affect this group of students or this particular kid if they're not included? So someone who's got a lot of self-awareness, and it admits when things aren't right, like, that didn't work. Let's try that again. Those people are fewer and far between, I think, these days. But
And when you look ahead at the next 5 or 10 years for Metro Prep, is there anything that you see growing or changing, or that you'd like to see grow or change about the school?
well, we have a brand new campus that we've only been in for a year, and it's a beautiful building, and the inside it's just excellent in terms of its facilities. And I'd like to see it feel even more um, like home, because it's new. So how do you do that? It's not just bringing all the nostalgia and the stuff we used to do in the older building. It's creating new clubs and inventing new ideas. So we're doing a radio play this year because we can't do a performance because of COVID. And it was the play we were doing last year, which is a version of The Royal Tenenbaums, the Wes Anderson film. So I worked on that for 6 months, trying to stage a film. And I think it was going to be quite something, right? Well, we loved it, but we had to cancel it. And so I just came up with this idea, well, why don't we just record it with sound and music and sound effects and have all the kids and teachers doing different voices, and like a podcast, and release it. And everyone's very excited about that. So it's just these ideas, fostering good ideas. And we've been doing that for a long time, but I'd like to take that further. That's one thing, is just getting all of the teachers and the students feeling like they can suggest something new for the school, and not just the creative types or the athletes, or the computer science kids. Getting that shy student to say, I like to cook. So we just started a Metro kitchen. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the kids are getting ingredients, and on Thursdays they all cook, and they go on Zoom, and they show each other what they're cooking, and then they all eat together. That's something we've never done. And now I'm thinking, well, maybe once things calm down and COVID's not a thing, maybe we could have more cuisine at the school. Maybe there'd be some sort of a course we could have. The environment is also something that all of our kids and teachers are pretty passionate about now. So I'd like to see how we could be more focused on that, and getting the environment into the courses as much as possible. And I'd like to get back to traveling, because we were really heavy on traveling. I've been all over the place. Kenya, Ecuador, Tanzania, New York, Chicago, Washington, France. Some of the teachers went to one year, and Wayne, it really fosters that. And because of what's been going on lately, we're not able to do that. So I'd love to broaden that, so kids can start to see the world again. I'm pretty dead set on that. And then I think athletic wise, like everything's changing, and kids are interested in different things. And so I'd love to see where that goes, what's going to be our next pennant that we win. For years, it was basketball or tennis, golf, skiing. Now, kids are a lot of our students are into fitness, like, how many steps they're doing, exercise, cardio. So maybe track and field's going to come back. And then a lot of our students are into yoga and meditating and being mindful. And so we're thinking maybe next year of developing a course that has some dance and, yoga, and a little sort of, something that if Wayne watches this video, he might say, oh, yoga. But that's the thing, is if the kids want it and there's a teacher willing to do it, it happens. And Wayne stays out of the way. He might not think that it's the best use of time, right? But he'll support it.
And finally, what's your advice for families and parents who are in their search right now?
I think you need to visit whatever school you're interested in. You really have to go there. And I think you should talk to more than one person. Our admissions process is thrown amongst multiple people. So myself, Wayne, Mackenzie, and Sue, and sometimes we'll bring teachers in. So I think I would encourage parents to ask the questions about what they know their child's going to need, and avoid worrying about things they can't control. One of the most common questions we get is, how many students are in a particular class? Because they want to know, is my child actually going to get attention? It says you have 12 to 18 kids per class. Is that true? Don't worry about what you can't control. You got to ask the questions that, what does your son or daughter need? And if what they need is just a whole bunch of kids surrounding them and all they care about is the social, then choose a school that is all about that. If you want your child to have a truthful experience and get to figure out who they are, then you want to ask those questions. Like, what does your school do to foster that intellect and creativity and confidence in a child? And so if you don't go to the school and you don't talk to a number of people, and all you're doing is watching a flashy video, looking at statistics, oh, well, my son went there and he got into Harvard. That's not a way to go about it, in my opinion, because every kid is different. So it doesn't matter what your neighbor's kid did. Everyone talks about fit, right? But the thing is, kids, they grow. So I've never understood that. Are they the right fit? Is the school grows, humans grow, so that sweater you loved, eventually it's either stretched out or it's too tight, right? So the parents need to understand that their kid is going to change. So where they are in grade 7 is not going to be where they are in grade 10. And I can tell you from 20 years of experience, a student in grade 10 in June is so different in September and grade 11. That time in their life, they change daily. And you have to be able to roll with that. And parents, especially, they don't know, if they haven't had a teenager before, if this is their first one, and they're 16 and now they're 17. But we've seen them. And I'm telling you, you don't want to necessarily know that the fit is right it needs to be a broader spectrum. Is there going to be room for my child to try something else and be honest about what they want? And if that's the case, I think Metro's the right school. But any school that they're interested in, that's what they want to get the truth from being there and talking to more than one person.